Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're going to be talking about Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Tez Johnson and what his possible role could be this upcoming season, maybe as like a spark plug of the Bucs offense. Now, I know that might be a bit of a ways away, and the first thought that might come to your mind when you talk about Tez Johnson is, well, the dude's got to make the roster first, right? But it's understandable to think about Johnson and be excited about it, right? Because Johnson was that type of role player while he was at Oregon. In fact, even on NFL.com, he was rated to be a fifth round draft pick by Lance Zierlein. He went at the very end of round 7, basically. He got an NFL comparison to Tank Dell. And while he was at Troy and at Oregon, he was a spark plug for their offenses. In 2021, he had 735 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns. He also had a rushing touchdown that year as well. 2022, 863 receiving yards and 4 receiving touchdowns. You then go into Oregon. He had 1,182 receiving yards in 23 and 10 receiving touchdowns. And in 24, he had 898 receiving yards and 10 receiving touchdowns. So guys, that's 2 back-to-back seasons with double-digit receiving touchdowns, and one season in that mix where he had over 1,100 receiving yards. Not bad at all. You've also got to consider this. The dude was a very solid punt returner while at Oregon as well. In 23, he had 20 punt returns for 190 yards, and in 24, he had 13 punt returns for 155 yards and a touchdown. So he did have a punt return for a touchdown. So whenever we think about Johnson and what he can be for the Bucs, I envision him in so many different types of ways, right? Because he's 5'10", he's about a little over 150 pounds. I wonder if the Bucs could possibly experiment with having him line up in the backfield, having him in the slot, having him do end arounds, all these different types of things. You guys remember Cameron Johnson last year and how Liam Cohen and the Buccaneers offense and certain media outlets were all excited about Cam Johnson's potential and he could be used as a weapon all over the field? I now feel that similar type of excitement, but for Tez Johnson, okay? And I didn't necessarily understand the hype of Cameron Johnson then, but I do understand the hype of Tez Johnson now because we have proof that he can do a lot of different things, right? So I'm going to be curious to see what the Bucs use him in terms of his capacity on the offensive side of the field and all the different formations they can throw him in. Again, I do believe first he has to make this 53-man roster, but if he has that much versatility, if he is a very solid punt/kickoff returner and can solidify that type of role for himself, he's going to have a pretty good chance to make that roster and be some type of gadget player on the offensive side of the ball. Now, I'm not going to go as far as say, hey, next Deebo Samuel or anything along those lines, but I will go on and say, like, hey, the potential for Johnson is exciting. I remember, I've mentioned the interview before, but Connor Bazelak had talked about throwing to Tez Johnson and Emeka Egbuka, and he had mentioned that Tez Johnson is one of the only NFL caliber players he has ever thrown to in his football career. He named 3 guys. He named Harold Fannin Jr., Emeka Egbuka, and Tez Johnson. It's a pretty short list, right? And that's coming from a quarterback himself who has thrown to countless amounts of receivers and running backs and tight ends throughout his football career. Tez Johnson was named in the same company as a guy like Harold Fannin Jr. and Emeka Egbuka as well. So I do think there is reason to be excited. I think that it's going to be very intriguing to see the progress of Tez Johnson going forward. And we're going to have to wait and see how he's used in this offense. But what do you guys think about this? Let me know your thoughts and opinions about it down in the comments section below. I would love to hear it. What are your guys' thoughts about Tez Johnson? What do you think he can be for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this upcoming season? Let me know. As always, guys, I'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.